This is Corvus here, back with another SoulCaliburVI Let's Play. This is Amy's Story, Episode 2. We left off with a bunch of great characterization in the first two chapters of Amy's story. Fortunately, we didn't get to see any actual gameplay. It was all dialogue. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get right into it here. Hopefully we'll see some actual gameplay. With Amy's Story, Chapter 3, Birds in the Night. No matter how extreme the changes experienced, one can be said to remain the same person if they maintain a single unbroken thread of memory. Whether she wanted it or not, Amy and her world continued to change dramatically. The humble red-haired orphan girl from the slums now lives as a highborn lady of the French Empire. Sounds like a lot more of what I was talking about last time. About how, regardless of how her circumstances may change, she still has that rough, she still has those rough edges to her. And that's probably not gonna change for the most part. It is kinda... It's kind of nice to see how they recognize that and they reflect that in this text. Although I do like how they really are going for a show don't tell kind of thing. Because I think this is the first time in the actual text that it's stated that she's probably not going to change too much. Yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it.
3 years have passed since Lord Dumas left his fortress city in the south of France on a pilgrimage. Raphael, having been named Lord Dumas's heir, officially adopted Amy as his daughter. Amy spent her days receiving a noblewoman's education, while further honing her unparalleled skill with a sword. However, it was unlikely she would ever use those skills in actual combat, or it would have been, had her keen eyes and cautious nature not caught wind of the danger threatening her land.
I'm impressed. The other birds of passage were more talkative.
Damn it! How much do you know?
I know your plot against this land's lord. First, you capture his daughter and hold her hostage. Then you steal his wealth, give him a sky burial, and plant fear in the hearts of his people.
Those cowardly fools. But you still don't know everything, brat.
Then why don't we see if I can loosen your tongue?
Stupid brat! I was just buying time for our main forces to get here.
Positions and terrain, both fine. 5 of them, no backup.
You think we'll capture you alive? Ha! It's a sky burial for you. We'll flay your skin and pluck out your eyes, then send your defiled corpse to your father.
Finally, you're all here.
Huh?
Hunting down the wolves of these forests is my father's job, but I'm happy to dispose of a few unwelcome birds.
It'd be amazing if in SoulCaliburVI 7 they do actual cutscenes. That would be dope. Because the graphics in these games are generally pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie.
Fight!
Yeah. Yeah. On guard.
Fight!
Yeah. Here. Yeah.
If I remember right, there's actually a decent amount of lore with those roses. Like, it said that she uses those roses to kind of help her quote-unquote predict the future, and that she bases her judgment on how the enemies will move according with how they react to the roses.
Your back is wide open.
Which is amazing to be able to have that kind of intuition and like battle IQ to be able to do something like that and pull something like that off in the middle of battle so flawlessly.
On guard. Yeah. On guard. On guard.
And what's great is it's not even out of nowhere either. It's very much
Tell me,
in
was it by chance that you
line.
targeted us?
Shut up, you corrupt noble swine!
Yeah. I see. Got it. On guard. Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be to the point where if you hit him with enough roses, especially white roses, you're supposed to become, like, you're supposed to have, like, an ultra instant fight state.
Is there anything else I should ask?
Blocking and dodging everything, like, automatically. And it's not even out of character either.
Milady!
Malus, you're late.
My sincerest apologies, but that's not the issue here. Why must you insist on putting yourself in danger? And what happened here?
Bird of Passage assassins. I doubt they can still move, but be careful.
These louts have caused trouble time and again in town. To think they would dare violate the very lands of Lord Dumas's estate. For Milady to have uncovered and foiled whatever dark deeds they plotted is proof of your extraordinary talents. But please, no matter how skilled you may be, do not go to battle alone. Without a proper escort, you will find yourself in dire straits one day. And more importantly, I'm sure our young lord worries about you.
Malus. A butterfly learns it can fly when it leaves its chrysalis. So, what about a bird?
When it leaves its nest?
When it flies. Raphael's probably worried. I'll go home now.
Milady,
I love her.
you must learn to refer to the young master with more respect. Such an incorrigible girl. Well, I must clean this awful mess up.
Honestly, I'd say there's just a lot to talk about in this, and there is, but I would just be repeating myself, running in circles. Like, it's more of the same characterization that we've been getting, but there's nothing too dramatically new. It's all just subtle, nuanced shit that's been building up and building up and building up. So I'm not gonna waste too much time talking about that. Though I do want to comment on the fact that, yeah, I think SoulCalibur's characterization and character development is at its best in the actual gameplay, like the actual combat part. Like Amy and Raphael are perfect examples. Amy doesn't necessarily underestimate her opponents. That's specifically why she uses the rose. Even though she's arguably the most skilled character in the entire game, including Raphael, her trainer and father, she's still humble enough and aware enough to realize that anything could happen and that she should always be on guard. Always assessing her surroundings, assessing the strength of her opponents, kind of reading them like a book. And that's reflected in the actual gameplay mechanic of her roses. Which I'm not going to claim that I was ever any good at this game or fighting games in general. So I'm not entirely sure how to properly utilize Amy, but I've heard that if you use her properly, especially with the white roses instead of just the red ones, you can actually undergo an Ultra Instinct-like state, where she's dodging and blocking everything perfectly, independent of your own control. The only way is you'd have to get, like, grab. Like, it's to the point where if you're going to beat an Amy player, you're gonna have to do it before she enters that critical state. Or be an amazing grappler. Or dodge all of her shit until she gets out. You can't be super aggressive when she gets into that state. Which is crazy to me. The fact that they put so much thought and effort into making her combat really reflective of who she is as a person. Like, you get, like, Mortal Kombat. I use that as an example of really good lore for fighting games last episode. But when you look at their combat and, like, each character's fighting style, it's mostly very gimmicky. It's not something that you could really tell that you could really get a feel for the character, who they are as people, just by watching them fight. Whereas in Soul Calibur, particularly with Amy and Raphael, that's exactly what you get. Anyway, I've droned off. I've gone off long enough. So let's get into it here. Same year, 1589 AD, Amy Chapter 4, A Mystic Rose. When did the wise young lord, Raphael, begin to hole himself up in his library? He feverishly pored over his books as if possessed, and published all entry to the library's annex. Prohibited. I thought that was a weird ass fucking sentence. God. He feverishly pored over his books as if possessed and prohibited all entry to the library's annex. Amy watched with a sense of dread as her father was consumed by some strange obsession. Oh, that reminds me. I guess that is a little weird because I wonder if Raphael was still on the run technically So we didn't have the right to properly, legally adopt Amy up until Lord Dumas left and named him as the heir, which probably pardoned him of his crimes, whatever crimes he did commit. Thus, he was finally able to legally adopt her. Which, thinking back on it, is super obvious. I probably should have assumed that was the case from the get-go, instead of going, well, he wasn't even legal back then. That's still a good question. This is obviously a work of fiction after all, so just because it says it was illegal in the late 1500s back then doesn't mean it actually was, so that's something I'm still gonna have to research. But it's got nothing to do with the game or the story, so it's whatever. Alright, let's get into it.
Malus, where is the key to the annex?
I'm sorry, milady. I know where it is, but I cannot tell you. None may enter the library unless a problem has arisen. That is the rule.
And you think this isn't a problem?
It is true he does nothing but deal with dubious folks and broods over strange works all day. If he were his old self, these acts would be unthinkable. But I trust him. He must have a good cause.
I see. In that case, how many fingers must I lose before it becomes a problem?
Milady, do not jest. Still, your point is made. I shall trust your intuition. Here is what I propose.
Raphael.
Amy, what are you doing here? I trust there is a problem that demands my attention.
I came to change the roses. It would be a problem if nobles such as us let our flowers rot.
It seems finding a shrewd maid to attend you was worth the trouble.
I also brought you some hot chocolate. Here.
I suppose I have given you both cause to worry. But I ask you wait just a while longer. Soon, I shall have a way to create for you that shining world I promised.
Raphael, I'm happy with the way things are now.
Those who seek stasis must never cease their step.
Fine. But can I visit you here again?
Please understand, Amy. I need focus to finish this as quickly as possible. But, very well. Will you come to change the flowers again? Bring roses, bright and beautiful red, to remind me of your hair.
What I want is... It was only coincidence that I saved him. Which means me being here is also... Who's there? Over there? Presence is gone, and they didn't leave any traces. But I know someone was watching me.
Okay. No comment that one. I'm gonna have to do something with that. Although I will say there's something I do kind of like about the stories here in this story mode. And it's that they're all interconnected in some way, right? Like they're not just isolated type things. They're not like a Mortal Kombat arcade, right? They all have something to do with each other. Like obviously Amy and Raphael's stories would be linked, but when we go through Raphael's story, you're probably going to hear some things about the other characters that Raphael fights, which has their own stories going on. Or like with Aswell. Aswell also has a story going on as well. Pardon the pun. Yeah, I think we'll get this chapter 5 out of the way and call it a day. Same year, Crossroads of Promise. Who could have foreseen what was to come? When Raphael left the isolation of his annex, the desperate weariness was gone from his eyes, replaced instead by the light of determination. With the object of his research now clear, he set off on a journey for the sake of Amy, and Amy alone. Both father and daughter stood at a crossroads, their fate uncertain.
It's been a long time since we trained together, Amy. I shall stay until you are satisfied, since we won't meet again for quite some time.
This journey, you'll be gone long?
Yes. However, my destination is clear, as is the home to which I will return. I shall finally fulfill the promise I made the day you injured your leg.
Do you remember your other promise?
Of course. The fate of that promise is still in your hands, as it has been since the day we first trained together.
Good. Then today, I will prove myself.
Battle 1. Fight!
This reminds me of when I swore to grant you one wish when you proved yourself a true swordswoman.
Why did you promise me that anyway? Say, take this.
Why indeed?
Say,
Quicker! Wonderful! Battle 2. Fight!
Perhaps I was enamored with the idea
Enjoy.
of promises, with vows.
that's not an answer. Not that I really care. Time for bed. Sleep eternally.
Wonderful! KO!
Raphael, I told you not to hold back.
Wonderful as ever, Amy.
Fight! Let us begin!
Well now.
I'm gonna get my ass kicked here. It's because I keep on mistaking square for block.
Your back is wide open. Time for bed. Sleep eternally.
Wonderful!
Raphael, I told you not to hold back.
What?
Checkmate.
Indeed. Very impressive, Amy. I was sure you had yet to overcome your habit of favoring your left leg. But I was wrong. You shorten your step, weakening your strikes while allowing you to quickly transition to your next move. A stunning adaptation of La Rapière de Sorel. Very well. I acknowledge you as a true swordswoman. What is your wish?
Well... what I want... Hurry back as fast as you can. I'll make my request then.
Are you sure that returning as fast as I can is not your true desire? Very well. I shall take those words as a command from my one and only queen. I, Raphael Sorel, swear it upon my life. I look forward to hearing the request you come up with. I also have something for you. Will you accept it?
What's this?
Albion, the Radiant One. I sent word to various contacts in spare moments during my research to have it made especially for you. It is a difficult blade to wield, but I'm sure you have the skill to master it. I hope the bond between us is never severed, Amy. Even when I am gone, this sword will keep us linked. I truly believe that.
Yeah, that was fun. We got to see a glimpse of Raphael's fighting style there, which makes the characterization of how Amy fights, ignoring the fact that I can't use her properly, it makes it so much more important, juicy, involved, I guess, because you can really notice the subtleties. Like, you really notice how obviously she has the La Repia de Sorel, which is a traditional swordplay art practiced in the Sorel family, obviously. Like, you can tell that she has that same style that Raphael does, but more precise, more patient. Raphael's moves are big, sweeping, aggressive strikes and stabs. Amy's are much more precise and leading, as if she's purposefully backing you up into a corner, getting you right where she wants you. Whereas Raphael doesn't care where you are as long as you're dead. Like, he still does it with style, but it's not as calculated as Amy's, which is dope. I love to see that. But with that being said, this is where I'm going to end it here today, guys. I've been Corvus. You've been whoever the hell you are. And I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Be out here.